Hello guys, it's a beautiful day and we are back in Regensburg, and I really want to show off this building. This is the new hospital. It's the only hospital in this world, so I imagine it's going to get pretty busy. But it's also a sign that we're getting close-ish to finishing Regensburg. So I want to tell you, we have built every building, basically. The real two big things. First of all, the walls need to get done, and that's going to be a pretty sizable project. If I keep this design, it's going to be a few hours. And I also have to do the interiors for a lot of these places. But the interior for these 6 big buildings here are already done, and I'm feeling pretty good about the places we've been going. So I want to take you through this. This is the Riegensberg General Hospital. I built this a little bit in honor of my girlfriend, who is a nurse and whose opinion I did get on some of the aspects of this. So you will get occasional bits of, not lore, but kind of some of the logic behind these things. So why don't we take a look inside? When we come in here, I wanted to go for a very sterile, empty atmosphere, very different from someplace like the lumber paper mill. Which is like a very earth tones, pretty busy place. This is very sterile. This is very easy to wipe off, you know. So we have our little welcome intake desk here. And this is a room I'm very happy about because I think it came out pretty interesting. It is a operating theater. So this is where you would do the procedures in order to show new up-and-coming doctors and nurses how things are done. And this ties into a very special part of Regensburg, which is that we have the Surgeons Guild. So up there, in that little room there, you can see there is a Surgeons Guild. And part of my inspiration for the Surgeons Guild was an old Rembrandt painting of the Surgeons Guild in Amsterdam. And that kind of ties into this because he does show like a kind of an operating theater at times. So yeah, I wanted to bring that into this world. Another interesting thing on this level is the normal operating room. So this room has more storage. You'd probably be doing a wider variety of procedures here. And I wanted to include some of these things. So you can imagine that all of these are basically a kind of cardboard or leather holder, and then a little file that you could slip out, which is represented by an item frame. So we have one for the medications compatibility. And that's what I showed off in here, is that we actually do have a couple of medicine cabinets. We also have our sterile procedure. So washing hands is one of them, but also who's allowed to be in the room, what do they have to wear, things like that. We have the emergency codes, which are used in hospitals today. Probably not at the time. This is kind of an Enlightenment era city, but I think it's still an interesting piece that you can incorporate. And we also have the vital signs, and we can imagine that these are not being taken the most accurate since they don't have a lot of machinery in here, but I think it's still an interesting bit. Another thing I want to point out is that this room and the hospital in general does have windows, but all of them have been designed for privacy. So you still get a decent amount of natural light in here without having to expose yourself to too many peeping eyes, let's say. Coming up here, we have the nurses station. Now, a good nurses station should ideally be facing down a long hallway so that you can get a good view of all the rooms. This isn't quite that, but we're working with some pretty tight confines. For instance, trying to move patients from the operating room all the way up to here for recovery is going to be pretty difficult, but I didn't have a lot of space for a big stairway. We do have a little bit of a food and drink prep area here, as well as another cabinet and our patient files. Along with some recent discharges, so people who have just left say in the past week, in case they come back or in case the family asks important questions. We have 2 bathrooms in here because you could say that there's one for the nurses and one for the patients, or that they're all for the patients, and patients are probably going to take a lot of time going to the bathroom since they're still in recovery. A note I want to make here is that we're using doors that have basically holes in them so that you can see through. So talking with my girlfriend, she said that hospitals would usually try to avoid having see-through doors because what it tends to do is make people check in from the outside to see if everything looks good instead of actually going into the room for the checkup. But that's kind of why I put them there, is so that you could look in and see like if somebody had fallen. So it's kind of a give and take. But there is an important decision to be made whether you want your doors to be see-through or not. And here's one of the things I said about the windows, which is that you get a lot of, say, natural light coming in, but there's only actually a narrow slit and it's on the 2nd story. So you can still preserve your privacy. If we look at the room itself, we have our little dividers here throughout the middle. We get a little nightstands, and then we have the tables that slide over the beds for feeding time. And this room is special because it is a room you'd get if you paid more. Having a double bed like this would be a bit of a pain for the nurses to, say, change your dressings, and if you were incontinent, things like that, it would be more difficult. But you can also imagine that if you're paying for the extra room, you probably do have more than one nurse helping you at the same time. And here we even have a little visitation area and some storage. So if you're staying for a long time, you might want to book this room. I will show you upstairs, we have the invalids. I was inspired for this from the Musée des Invalides in Paris. Basically, where they used to put people who were, say, homeless or who were veterans who had amputations and stuff. People who couldn't really be part of the workforce, but who couldn't really be entered into something like a fully bureaucratic system like we would have today with like a welfare state. So a lot of times they would end up in these places for invalids. So here what we have is these large kind of straw pallet beds where you could imagine up to like 5, 6, 7, 8 people sleeping all at the same time. It's not a very good setup, and the hospital wasn't built for this, which is why it's tucked away in the attic. It just wasn't really meant to be. We do have a small eating area here, and if we go to the back, there is a little rudimentary toilet with a gray towel. So it's not necessarily the best of conditions. But that is basically it for the hospital, guys. I'm gonna take a little walk outside so we can get a view of the whole place. And talk a little bit more about Regensburg. So, upcoming things in Regensburg. I'd say in terms of big projects that you'll see videos for, I'm definitely going to make a video when I complete the university. Probably one when I do the bank and the kind of banker's house back here. There's going to be a video for that big mansion across the water, and that might be it between now and when I actually post this. I do want to try to get some live streams in, but I never really know when those are going to happen, and it's hard to find a day when I know for sure that I'm going to have like 2 hours to stream in the evening without getting interrupted. So it is a bit of a challenge, but yeah, I think that's basically what's going to happen between now and the real big Regensburg video, which I haven't planned out per se, but I am excited to see where this takes us. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I should be coming back to you sometime soon. So yeah, see ya.